going on, guys? It's Michael MGF, and today I am super excited and also pretty relieved to finally be doing the last LEGO Star Wars Rogue One set review on the TIE Striker. And the set number for this one is 75154. The recommended ages are 8 through 14, and it has a piece count of 543, while the price point is pretty hefty, coming in at $69.99. And guys, I decided I would save this one for last because not only is it the most demanding set in terms of its price point, but in general, it's just the weakest set. Because even though the TIE Striker is a really great build and a really great new variation of the TIE Fighter brought into LEGO, it's just the minifigures, even though they're really nice as well, they just don't carry the set as much, as well as I would have hoped it to. So I can't really picture a scenario where somebody walks into an aisle, looks at the U-Wing, looks at Krennic's shuttle, the hover tank, the AT-ST, and then looks at this and favors this over all others and decides to pick up this one. I just don't see a scenario where that happens, because this set, unless you're a huge fan of different variants of TIE Fighters, doesn't stand out. So I see a lot of people maybe going into aisles and being like, hey, look at that set, look at that Shore Trooper, let me go on eBay or on Bricklink and not actually pick it up. It's just this set is really good for what it offers. It's just, it doesn't feel like the full package, and I'll talk about all of this and more throughout the entirety of this review. But yeah, again guys, it has been 5 straight days of reviews, and I cannot tell you how relieved I am to finally be done with this. And so without further ado, let's finally go ahead and take a look at the minifigs before I freaking die. So the Shore Trooper, unfortunately the only really exciting figure in the set, but it is really great though. Now, I guess we'll start off with the helmet. The Shore Trooper's helmet, unfortunately, was misused on the hover tank driver, which I didn't realize until today, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it was designed to be the Shore Trooper, and so of course it works much better on him, and it really does look great. It has all the printing detail that you would expect on the front, and as I talked about it yesterday with the hover tank, it does have all the different rivets and all these other different, gray parts that are worked into the design of the piece. And unfortunately, the visor on mine is a little bit misprinted. As you can see, it's a little bit too far to his right, and it kind of overlaps a little bit, like almost near the breather area. But regardless, I really do love this helmet, and it definitely works a lot better for the Shore Trooper because it was actually designed to be the Shore Trooper helmet. And I didn't realize it yesterday when reviewing the hover tank, because I honestly, for once, I didn't do the research, but the hover tank driver helmet is actually completely inaccurate because it's a Shore Trooper helmet. And of course, I compared the two helmets now between the Shore Trooper and the hover tank driver, and this helmet was designed to be the Shore Trooper. So the hover tank pilots have a recycled Shore Trooper helmet rather than anything that's even close to being accurate, and I didn't realize this, and now it just totally, nearly ruined this minifigure for me, because you have so many great minifigs and so many great things that, look forward to in the Rogue One sets. But then when I found out how poorly treated the hover tank pilot's helmet actually is, like I said, it kind of ruined it for me. But the point is, anyway, getting back on topic with the Shore Trooper, because unlike the hover tank driver, LEGO actually really did care about the Shore Troopers. You can see that the torso design on the Shore Trooper is pretty nice. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is one of the Shore Troopers that actually has like a substantial rank, because you do have the sand blue arm, the sand blue on the chest, and then you have a little bit sort of like down toward the lower, the lower part of the torso. But the torso design is great. Unfortunately, you got that belt separation from the torso to the belt piece, so I mean, that's always unfortunate. But it's really, I don't think, an issue that's going to be going away anytime soon either, which is why I usually don't address it anymore. You got all the brown design work continuing down onto the legs. The leg printing is great. All the different design work on the knee pads, that is all there, and that looks great. So there's that, and then you can see that his I don't honestly know what type of pistol or weapon it is, and I say pistol because LEGO portrays him as having the binoculars taken off of this Alien Conquest pistol on the product photo, but then on the box, and I believe the rest, in the instruction manual and everything, they have you put it on. So I don't know, but there is that, and I don't really have much else to comment on with his blaster. And then if we turn him around, though, you can see the back of his torso is really nice, continuing all that detail, and that looks really great. And then, of course, to top it all off, we've got our clone head, because of course we do, right? It's God, clone heads. It's never ending. But yeah, I really love the Shore Trooper. I think LEGO did a great job on this minifigure, but unfortunately, in realizing how great this figure was, I figured out how unfortunately messed up the hover tank pilot is. New TIE Pilot is really nice as well, and it does have some new printing and some new design work that's gone into it, so I mean nothing too substantial. You've all seen the TIE Pilots before, but this one, taking a look at the helmet, does have the standard set of Imperial emblems on the top of his helmet, but what is new is the printing, like with the eyes, the silver lines that extend from the eyes down to the breathers. I think the mouth might be new, and it looks really nice, and you know, some nice subtle upgrades to it, but what I think, you know, we're probably due for is a new TIE Pilot entirely, a new TIE Pilot helmet entirely, because it's like, you know, having this much of the head exposed has gotten really old for me, and obviously we can swap it out with a black head, but it's like, why won't LEGO go back to doing like those Stormtrooper heads that were faces printed onto a black head? Those were so much better, because we didn't have problems like this. Because man, that is so awkward looking, and if LEGO doesn't plan on printing new heads, you know, onto black, actually, you know, printing new face designs onto black heads, it would be nice if they just made a new helmet entirely for the TIE Pilots. But anyway, so you can see the torso design, and we'll take off the helmet. Hey, look, clone head, big surprise. The torso design is really nice as well. Now, I don't really think there's a whole lot of new design work going on the chest. I think that might all be recycled from the previous TIE Pilot, but what is new is the design work on the lower half of the torso. Nothing too substantial, nothing you'll notice really, unless you really actually compare the two, but it is really nice, regardless, you know, just to see them updating the design. And then we do have a standard pair of Death Star Trooper legs, and I call them Death Star Trooper legs because they debuted as Death Star Trooper legs back in that battle pack in 2014, and I've loved this design and these legs ever since, and I have mimicked this design on a lot of custom minifigures, so it's great to see LEGO still using those legs. And you can see the back of the torso, as I pretty much already showed you already. Nothing too exciting, and if I don't really know if that's actually recycled over from the previous TIE Pilot or not. I don't really think it matters. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next minifig. Next up, we've got our Imperial Ground Crew member, and before we even start, I want to ask you guys, how many of you know that the Shore Troopers, the Death Troopers, and in particular the Hover Tank Pilots are going to be in Rogue One? I'm guessing probably the majority of you, but how many of you knew this guy was going to be in Rogue One with his fancy new helmet? I mean, this is not an overly exciting character, but for what it's worth, LEGO has done this minifigure a real service. I mean, this is a really great figure, even if he's not, you know, a huge character, and, you know, he's more of just a side, quick little throw-in figure, but it's like, why does he get a new helmet and the Hover Tank Pilots can't? That's just my question, man. I just really would love to have an answer to that. But anyway, the new helmet you can see is pretty much just that. It's very reminiscent to that of other ground crew members that we've seen for like the First Order, and you know, kind of similar to the Death Star Troopers as well. But it's a really nice new piece. Love the indents on the front and everything about it. And you know what's even better about this guy? Hey, look, no clone head. This is great. As I've always said, literally any other head aside from a clone head will work for Stormtroopers. There were not a lot of clone troopers in the timeline right before New Hope where Rogue One takes place. So it's like this, literally any other head works. And this is just that. So I appreciate it, LEGO. So anyway, we'll put the helmet back on though, so we can take a look at the torso. And the torso, very reminiscent to that of a TIE Pilot. There's really nothing too exciting about it, but it is really, really nice. And we can take a look at the back as well. It almost looks like he has some type of backpack or jetpack or something. Probably not a jetpack. This guy isn't that cool. But printed onto the back of his torso. So there is that. And it's pretty much just an amalgamation of a lot of gray lines. But then the leg printing is really nice. And I also love it how this guy can get leg printing, but no like Imperial officers or officials can get leg printing. It's like this guy gets leg printing, but Director Krennic doesn't. Anyway, it's still a really nice design, and it looks really, really great. So I mean, there's that, and then he's got his pointers or whatever to point. And I'm not gonna pretend like I remember the official name for these. I totally forgot, but he's got them, and they're pretty nice. There's not really much else to say other than this is a real, this is a side character that LEGO really, for whatever reason, went out of their way to make into like a near perfect minifigure. So yeah, you got a great ground crew member, but an inaccurate hover tank pilot, and a Director Krennic with no leg printing, but this guy's got the full package. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Oh boy, our last minifigure for the Rogue One wave. And we got a new Rebel Trooper. Now, this Rebel Trooper is not too exciting. It's pretty much almost like the body of this guy is almost identical to that of the Rebel Trooper you saw in the ATST, obviously, except he does have the dark bluish gray arms. And I say dark bluish gray, I saw some of you comment, why are you saying bluish? And that's the official color for dark gray Lego parts, just for those of you who don't know. And yeah, same leg design as I talked about. You know, you do have this leg design in different colors, and so, I mean, he is very similar to this guy that we saw in the ATSD. Yeah, so you can see the torso design, just covering it again, is really nice. There's really not much for me to comment on, other than the design. I can't words. Looks really great, and you know, reminiscent to that of what we've seen in the trailers. The back is a little under detailed, but still really nice regardless. And then the helmet is also very nice. This is obviously like a standard like Endor helmet, but it does have some gunmetal printing around the top of it, as opposed to your dark green or sand green that you've seen used on this helmet before, and that looks really cool. And the same emblem that we see on the side of the helmet that we've also seen on the on a couple of the other Rebel Troopers in the Rogue One set, so that's really nice as well. And yeah, now one thing I want to point out is, hey, look, you might have noticed that Steve Rogers and Hawkeye both made their way into the MCU, because those two share the same face in the Civil War sets, and that happens to be this face. So yeah, and speaking of this Rebel Trooper, it's like, guys, Lego they have faces that they haven't used on main superheroes, on huge characters already. I mean, they have faces for infantry minifigures, and it's like, really? Why do we have the Steve Rogers / Hawkeye face? Like, why? I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, but it's just kind of awkward. And it's just, I mean, yeah. Anyway, so you got your Steve Rogers and Hawkeye Rebel Trooper, and then here's the alternate side of the face if you've never seen that before, so that you can use this as the face that he has when he's getting cut down by Vader, probably. But yeah, so there's that. And then the leg printing, as I pointed out, you know, you do have these legs in dark tan and brown in these sets, which is really nice. It's a really great, you know, like very standard type of, you know, just like cargo pants design that can be universally used among all kinds of different minifigures, so that's really great. And then this guy also has that same standard blaster with the light gray connector on it. So aside from that, though, guys, that is it for all of the Rogue One minifigures, and most of them are really, you know, fantastic for the most part, with minor problems. But I gotta say, with the TIE Striker, you don't have any minifigures in this set that can carry it and hold it up on its own. I mean, the Shore Trooper is not enough for me to say that, oh yeah, the TIE Striker is worth the $70 by itself, which it's not. And then you can be like, hey, but the minifigures definitely make it worth buying. But no, they don't. You don't have any main characters in this set. The Shore Trooper is not enough of a reason for me to be like, yeah, this set is worth the $70, because you can just go on eBay and get this guy later, or on Bricklink. It's just the minifigures in this set are kind of weak, unfortunately, even if they are pretty nice for the most part. But yeah, guys, that is it for all the minifigures in the Rogue One sets. And finally, let's take a look at the last build. So, like I said, the TIE Striker, it is a great build, but unfortunately, it's not enough to save this set. It really does its job. The design of it is great. This is the TIE Striker. This is awesome, but it's just, there isn't enough going on here for me to look at this and be like, yeah, this build makes this worth $70. Then you tack on the minifigures that I just showed you, and they don't really hold up on their own, and it just doesn't make for the full package. And I will show you, though, how great this TIE Striker is. It's just, again, it's just hard for me to look at this and be like, yeah, this totally, despite the minifigs not being too exciting, makes this worth $70, because this, as nice as this is, it just doesn't. So I'll just start off with the main feature with the wings. The wings are practically identical and work exactly the same. Right now I have it in its flight mode, and the way we go ahead and you know, pretty much just make these wings move up and down is we have a couple of technic mechanisms on the back, and you just go ahead and either push down on them to put it into its flight position, and this is what it looks like with the wings folded down, just to give you a quick 360 of that. And then you just vice versa, just lift them up and the wings go up and it goes back into flight mode. So I mean, it's very effective. That works very well, and it's very accessible, and that's awesome. So I guess we'll take a look at the stickers really quick on the top of each wing before we move on from them. You can see on each wing we have a 1x8 light gray tile along with a 1x6, both of which have pretty similar detail coming in the form of stickers, and then it is exactly the same on the other wing, so that's really nice, again, for some added detail. You have a little bit of sand blue in this thing, I want to point out, some sand blue pieces here and there, and those look really nice and add for some nice color variety within the build. But then the secondary playability feature that we do have, and I guess the wings being adjustable is kind of a playability feature, but of course the spring-loaded shooters are where it's at, man. I wonder if there are spring-loaded shooters on every single Rogue One set. I think there actually are, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so we'll take our Rebel Trooper and use him as the guinea pig. And again, if you don't know how spring-loaded shooters work, in this case, there's no fancy mechanism that you use to fire them. It's just, you know, straight up. You go ahead and just push on the top of one of the spring-loaded shooters and fire it, and you can take out your Rebel Troopers or whoever is assaulting Scarif trying to get the Death Star plans, man. So yeah, then you got another one right there to the right of this one. And aside from that, you can see we got a couple little telephone pieces on like right underneath the wing, so that's kind of cool for some hidden detail. But then if we take a look at the top before we open this whole thing up, you can see we have a lot more stickers. Now I do want to point out the dish on the very back is not a sticker, that is a printed piece, but all the slopes you see in the center, those are all stickers, and even the little bit of detail you see on the very top of the cockpit, that's a sticker as well. So finally, let's go ahead and bust this thing open. So the main cockpit piece, you've probably seen this before, this is a printed piece, and that's really nice to see. I don't believe it's a new print, but we just go ahead and fold that down, and then we take the top hatch, which with, again, the hatch with the sticker on it, and fold that up, and the entire cockpit is now accessible. And inside, just like pretty much all the Rogue One sets, we have the little axle piece for the minifigure to sit, and I'm pretty sure you can take the TIE pilot and have him grip onto that little control piece that's represented by use of a droid body, but we're not going to do that for right now. We're going to take the TIE pilot and just go ahead and put him on that axle piece and just have him sit nice and snug inside his new TIE Striker that is never to be seen again in the original trilogy. But we just go ahead and close up those two pieces, and he is secured inside, ready to go, ready for the assault on Scarif, men, ready to go and play Battlefront, because these are definitely going to be playable in that DLC. That's not the point. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back, which does have some additional storage. If I can get the dished piece to open here, that would be fantastic. And you can see inside we have this little walkie-talkie piece. Now, this is not just a walkie-talkie piece. I don't think this actually serves as to be any sort of like plot significance in the movie. This is literally just a walkie-talkie with a 1x2 sand blue tile on it that has a sticker, and this is actually a comlink, I should mention. It's not just a walkie-talkie, I was getting to that, but it is actually considered a comlink, which is pretty cool, and that would have been great if that tile was printed, but it is a sticker and it is what it is. But it just goes ahead, you can just go ahead and put it inside the little storage bay, and the storage bay is pretty cool because as you can see, we've got the binoculars pinned in there as well, and you got a pair of binoculars that can be clipped on. Inside there you also have those two little red Technic pieces, and that's where you can go ahead and store your comlink. And then if you want, you can take the blaster that is included with the set and just go ahead and put that in the peg on the left, and it works really well. It's some really nice additional storage in there that LEGO managed to pack into the design. So I mean, aside from that though, that really is it for the TIE Striker. There's not much else to talk about. Everything that I just showed you is the whole thing, and I mean, it's great. I mean, this is exactly what I would have wanted from the TIE Striker. The TIE Strikers are going to be featured heavily in Rogue One, and LEGO has done a great job of portraying it as a LEGO set. This is fantastic. It's just, like I said, even as great of a build as this is, I don't think that this is worth the $70. And you kind of, because the minifigures, because the Shore Trooper himself can't hold up the entire set next to the TIE Striker, you kind of have to look at this and evaluate and be like, okay, do I want to spend $70 on this? And honestly, I can't recommend that you do. I would wait. I mean, if you can find a deal somewhere, use some VIP points, something. It's just this set, as nice as the TIE Striker is, once again, it's just because of the minifigures not being too exciting that, you know, push it over the edge of actually being worth it, because, you know, as it is, the $70 price point, even with 4 minifigures, is pretty steep, but then because the minifigures aren't that exciting and the TIE Striker really isn't enough to warrant a $70 price tag on its own, as much as I want to recommend this set to you, I would recommend that you wait. I would recommend that you find some alternative, buy buy the U-Wing, which is only $10 more. I mean, I would definitely go for the U-Wing over this, and just go on eBay, go on Bricklink when the Shore Trooper starts to become a bit more available maybe, and pick him up separately, because aside from that, I really can't say that you go and drop 70 bucks on this set. That's just my personal opinion. Even again, it's hard for me to say because the TIE Striker is really nice, but it's just, this one has really got me conflicted. But those are my thoughts on this final Rogue One set, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you agree. These are just my opinions, but hopefully it helped you in deciding if you want to pick this one up or not. And finally, let's go ahead and take a look at the box, instruction manual, extra pieces, and we can wrap up this last review. Our last bit of cardboard. Man, look at that graphic on Scarif. Isn't that so cool? I don't know why I'm being overly enthusiastic. It is just a box. Anyway, Death Troopers, still an awesome new box design. We got all the minifigures on the top, the TIE Pilot sporting the actual size reference, and then on the back of the box we have the TIE Striker landed in this blue environment that they have pretty much all the back of the boxes with the sets depicted on. I have no idea what this planet is. It looks like a snow planet, even though there's no snow planets in Rogue One as far as I'm aware. I don't know what I'm talking about. There's your box. Last instruction manual, thank God. This one comes in at 101 pages, so there is that. And then, oh boy, the same stuff that you saw in the last 4 reviews, all the minifigures on that super cool checklist thing that has all the renders of them that we've already talked about by now, and most of which are really great. And then the entire lineup, again, most of which are really great, except for this set. And again, I would recommend any of these over this one. So, yeah. And then our last look at this super cool picture that's just begging to be my wallpaper that I still haven't made the effort to go on Lego.com and look up if that's actually an available thing. Probably not. And then the Force Builder app. Woohoo. Okay, there you go. I figured I would use the minifigures to depict how utterly relieved I am to finally be at the end of these reviews. So the extra pieces, you've got your stereotypical pile of 1x1 tiles, plates, connectors, spring-loaded shooter. You know the drill. I'm done. Let's go ahead and wrap up this review.
Excuse us, Lord Vader, but can we be added into the original trilogy?
I don't like sand.
Okay, guys, and there you go. That's it for all 5 of the LEGO Star Wars Rogue One set reviews. That concludes the binge of all these reviews that I've been doing for the past 5 straight days. And guys, if you enjoyed these reviews, if you watched any of them, if you enjoyed any of them, if you stuck around and watched all of them, be sure to let me know by dropping this video a like below and or your opinion on any of these sets down in the comments, any of the 5, how I did reviewing them, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, which sets you picked up, which sets you didn't. Let me know, guys, because this has been a really great wave, and I just seriously have been so impressed unboxing these sets and reviewing them. I mean, LEGO, for the most part, despite the minuscule flaws here and there that really don't take away from the overall sum of how great this wave is just, it was just so, you know, so freaking awesome. I mean, I seriously really enjoyed all of these sets, and even though the TIE Striker is the weakest of them all, it is still a great build with a great set of minifigures. Even if those minifigures aren't all that exciting, it's still definitely a set that you should keep in the back of your mind as a side thought if you ever get an extra 70 bucks. And maybe, you know, if you are big into different variants of TIE Fighters, like I said, you know, absolutely go for this one. But I mean, I would definitely consider any of the other 4 before you jump on the TIE Striker. And that's just my opinion, but my opinion on all 5 sets, as I said, I have been very impressed with all of these, and LEGO has really outdone themselves with this wave. LEGO really goes, you know, out of their way to make sure they deliver the best, you know, sets for upcoming Star Wars films since, you know, The Force Awakens. It started last year with The Force Awakens, and that wave was really quality stuff, and Rogue One has been no different, even if it is 2 sets shorter. Yeah, guys, this has seriously been a huge challenge for me, you know, actually sitting down every every day, waking up in the morning every morning, and just building a set and spending that afternoon reviewing it and recording it, and only to edit it and finish it, get it uploaded and scheduled for the next day, only to wake up the next day and rinse and repeat. And that has been the last 5-6 days for me, and it's been seriously awesome though, because what an awesome job it is to be able to make my own custom minifigures and review these sets, to share my thoughts and opinions with you guys. I'm honestly not complaining, despite how exhausting it still was. I had a great time, and hopefully you did too. And finally, I'm going to go ahead and get back to work and finish up the X-Men Apocalypse minifigures, move on to Doctor Strange after that, and then in December it'll be time for me to make my own Rogue One, a Star Wars story minifigures to showcase right before the movie's release, and it's going to be insane. But like I said, I've got X-Men, Doctor Strange, and a few other sets to do and worry about from now until then. And if you want to catch up on all of that before Rogue One drops in December, be sure to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Links to all three of those are always down in the description below, and there I'm going to be posting my preview photo for Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. very soon, if I haven't already. And then again, my X-Men Apocalypse minifigures, I'm going to continue to work on those and post preview photos for them leading up to that showcase and Doctor Strange and everything I just mentioned. I'm just pretty much repeating myself at this point. But guys, that's it for the Rogue One, a Star Wars story set reviews on Wave 1. Cannot wait to review future sets when LEGO comes out with a second wave in January. That's going to be awesome. And I was waiting to review these sets ever since the first teaser image. God, it must have been in like early this year, maybe late 2015, and it was so great, guys, to finally do these reviews. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say other than that. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around for all of these reviews, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye. On the TIE Striker, and my God, I've given you, and also pretty relieved to, shit. So, I realize it's a big empire, big galaxy and all, but come on. The TIE Strikers would have been great for defending the Death Star.
Shut up.
Hover tanks would have been perfect for Endor too.
Shut up.
Also, why did Krennic have a cooler shuttle than you? 143, while it has a hefty price point of that was great. That was even better. And it has pass count, piece count, pass count, same thing, right? God.